Titans star running back Derrick Henry taking part in Wednesday's padded practice, responded well, looking to be activated before Saturday's divisional round game against the Bengals. The All-Pro running back missed the final 9 games of the season after undergoing foot surgery. Henry said he felt great, would see how the rest of the week goes as Tennessee prepares to play Cincinnati.
I feel good. I mean, I have a big steel plate on my foot. That's only different from the left foot to the right, but I mean, I feel good. Just, I haven't did anything like 2.5 months, so, just getting back out there, getting acclimated to everything, and, getting back to being me. Do I expect to play? See how this week goes, and we'll see where I'm at on Saturday.
Titans expect to make a decision on Friday, so could be earlier in the week, but we'll see about that. Derrick Henry would certainly be a massive boost for the Titans against Cincinnati. Derrick Henry led the NFL in rushing yards with 937 and rushing touchdowns with 10 through Week 8. He's the 7th player in NFL history with 900 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns through the first 8 games of a season. Let's welcome in 2 of the 3 members that make up the Pick 6 podcast, Brinson and Ryan Wilson, here to play a game of trust or bust. Derrick Henry has played 21 games in the month of November, December, and January since the 2019 season. He has at least 100 yards rushing in 14 of them. Will, trust or bust, Derrick Henry will rush for over 100 yards against the Bengals.
Boy, this feels like a dangerous thing to do, but I'm going to get in. I'm going to try and do what the Bengals will want to do, and that's get in front of Derrick Henry, bull rushing down the field. I'm going to say bust here. Wilson and me and Breach and Debo have been chatting about in Slack about how Derrick Henry's legs look like toothpicks. And if I stole your line, Wilson, my apologies, but I'm not really that sorry. I do think the Titans would love to get him out there and give him a full workload. I just have a hard time believing a guy with a steel plate in his foot and, who's been rehabbing like this is going to come in and be absolutely dominant and go over 100 yards. Now, caveat to that, the Bengals are missing defensive linemen potentially. Larry Ogunjobi already out. If they are missing more and they're really thin at defensive line, then I might be willing to change my tune here. But for now, I will say that the Bengals are able to slow Derrick Henry and keep him under 100 rushing yards.
Joke's on you, Brinson, because our social team's going to cut you saying that Derrick Henry has little toothpick legs, put it on Twitter, and then you have to spend the next 3 days apologizing to Derrick Henry. So I got you. You fell for it. That said, I'm going with you as well. I think Derrick Henry, he's not 100%, and whether he was just sort of hedging his bets and obfuscating in that press conference or not, it's hard to imagine he's going to come out and be the exact same guy that we saw the previous 5 seasons where he's just running over people, especially in January, and dragging these defenses up and down the field. Not only that, we saw that Donta Foreman did a relatively good impression of what Derrick Henry provided on a limited basis. He averaged about 14 carries a game for the same 4.3 yards per carry. That's about half as many carries as Derrick Henry got. Dontrell Hilliard did some damage, averaging even more yards at 6.3 yards per carry. So I think they'll split up the carries among those 3 running backs. And if Derrick Henry's hot, then I suppose you keep feeding him. But I don't think they want to rush him through in the first game of the playoffs because they want to win that game, obviously, then have him ready to go for the rest of the playoff run there. So I agree with Brinson. I think it's a bust to ask that of Derrick Henry first game out of the gate after such a long layoff.
All right, gentlemen, we're looking at the Bills and Chiefs divisional matchup from KC, where they met for the AFC title game a year ago. The Chiefs advancing to the Super Bowl. KC seeking a 3rd straight Super Sunday trip, both coming off lopsided Super Wildcard wins. So, Ryan, winner of this game will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Trust or bust?
Trust, and I feel pretty confident saying that. Look, the Bengals are a fun team to watch, and I've been saying for a few weeks now, this isn't Andy Dalton's Bengals. This is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase's Bengals, and that's a different type of feline, if you will. And I love what Tennessee does, but they're not a super exciting team, and they find ways to win. And when at the end of the game, you're always like, how'd that happen? And usually it's some combination of mistakes by the other team, Ryan Tannehill key pass at the end, and, of course, Derrick Henry when he's healthy. Now, you talk about the other 2 football teams that combined to score what felt like 500 points last week against their opponents. And it's hard to imagine that once the winner of this game gets to the AFC Championship game, they're not going to get all the way to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen had a better season than Patrick Mahomes. That's how good a season he had. Mahomes obviously started slow and then has gotten progressively better and looks like the MVP type guy he's been in recent years. And I think the winner of this game, assuming that they get out of there relatively injury-free, that team will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know I picked the Bengals to get out of the AFC previously on HQ, maybe even like last week, and I said that they're good value at 20-1 or 18-1. I still like Cincinnati to potentially do that, but I'm starting to get a little bit worried about this Titans game. And as much as I like Tennessee, right now, if you got an odds maker, you got Caesars or whoever to put a line on. Like you get Bills and Chiefs versus Titans and Bengals on who goes to the Super Bowl. Bills and Chiefs is like minus 200. I mean, these are clearly the two best teams in the AFC, maybe the two best teams in football. And this is essentially not a de facto AFC championship, but it's the AFC championship most people thought we would see. It's not breaking that way. I definitely agree, though. You have to trust one of these teams to get to the Super Bowl, barring a major injury.
Yeah, the Chiefs beat the Bills in last year's AFC championship game. We'll see about that this year as they try to get back to the AFC Championship. All right, in the NFC, the Rams and Bucs clashing on Sunday. In Week 3, they went head-to-head. Matthew Stafford out-dueling Tom Brady, throwing for 4 touchdowns, no picks, as the Rams beat the Bucs by 10. Close game even into the third quarter, Ryan. Trust or bust, the Rams-Bucs playoff game will be a repeat of what happened in Week 3 of the regular season.
Oh, man, I trust this, but my concern is this, Akeem. The quarterback, Matthew Stafford, has to play like he did last week. We can't have a situation where he's out there throwing the ball over the yard, the no-look pick sixes, and the silly turnovers. He has to play last week. And the big thing about last week is he only threw the ball 17 times. They leaned on the rushing game. They had 38 rushing attempts, which is their highest of the season. The problem, of course, is that Todd Bowles' defense doesn't allow teams to run that well, so they're going to have to find other ways to get other players involved. Those other players include Odell Beckham, of course. Cam Akers is back. They didn't have Von Miller on this team. They didn't have Odell on the team as well when they met in the earlier matchup. And I think you have to keep those things laser focused on the to-do sheet there, if you will, because once Matthew Stafford goes off script, things can go sideways in a hurry. And I feel terrible going against Tom Brady, but I think the injuries have mounted up on Tampa Bay, and I like the way the Rams have been playing recently.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, and the reason why I'm agreeing here and going trust, no surprise from the country's biggest Matthew Stafford honk. But I do think that when you look at this matchup, right, the remaining superstar wide receiver that Tom Brady's got is Mike Evans. Jalen Ramsey hadn't been traveling all over the place, but it's having Jalen Ramsey out there is a perfect antidote to Mike Evans, unless you just want to move him all over the different all over the formations. And then additionally, Ryan Jensen and Tristan Wirfs banged up. I do expect both to play. But if for any reason those guys miss time, you have Aaron Donald and Von Miller who can expose the weaknesses on the interior and then on the edge. And, look, this is a game where we have seen Sean McVay, coach of his team. They match up well against the Bucs. I like the Rams to win. Certainly there is a pretty large maybe a larger than normal public sentiment on Matthew Stafford and the Rams because of the losses that Tampa Bay's dealt with in terms of injuries, and then the way that we saw the Rams look on Monday night. But I'm still going to ride with it. That was my initial lean in the first place.
Yeah, Rams getting 3 points in that game, by the way.
They are. They're on the road. Let's take a look at the 49ers and Packers. Green Bay having watched Super Wildcard Weekend as the top seed in conference, while San Francisco fended off the Cowboys in Big D. Let's focus on the quarterbacks here, as we know about the storyline surrounding Jimmy G and the Niners, with Trey Lance waiting in the wings, as well as Aaron Rodgers' past issues with Packers brass. Trust or bust, the losing team in this game will have a new starting quarterback next season. Will, you're up first.
Well, I'm taking the 49ers to win the game. So I'm answering the question as it relates to the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. And I will say bust. I do not trust. It sounds like the start of a Dr. Seuss rhyme or something.
It does.
Bust. I do not trust. No, I don't. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to end up being in Green Bay in 2022. I believe that the relationship between he and GM Brian Gutekunst has been repaired enough that Rodgers will stick around. And also, you see him like. He's doing does these weekly Pat McAfee interviews. He does whatever he wants. He says whatever he wants. He's playing well. He's clicking the Matt LaFleur offense. He's got Devontae Adams there, maybe the best target he's ever had in his entire career. He texted him and told him that recently. And so I think all those factors are going to make Rodgers realize that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You know the ins and outs of Green Bay, the city, the town, the building, the franchise, everything about it you are very familiar and intimate with. You go to like Denver or Pittsburgh and things are complete. Like you have to learn a whole new building, a whole new offense. You have to trust that this organization can put the right pieces around you. So I think he's got too good of a spot right now. If they somehow implode and just look horrendous against San Francisco, maybe that changes. But I think he stays in Green Bay next year.
I'm going to go with lust with an L. As a Steelers fan, I lust for Aaron Rodgers to come to Pittsburgh, and I want to see Akeem's face when that happens.
Yes! Oh, my gosh. That's possible. You know what, though? Now that I think of it, oh, man. You're right. That's a good one. We didn't talk about that one. Trust, bust, or lust. That's a good one.
Right,
well
yeah.
done.
That's HQ after hours, Akeem. But I'm going to go with Brinson. I agree as well. I'm going to go bust on that because I don't think the 49ers are going to win that football game. But for the reasons Brinson laid out about Aaron Rodgers, I think he does come back either way, whatever happens. It's just too good there. As for the 49ers and Jimmy G does about 85 to 90% of what Kyle Shanahan wants is that 5 to 10% that drives Kyle Shanahan crazy, going back to that, of course, interception last week. I don't know if Trey Lance is ready. We saw him make a couple starts, and he was okay for a rookie quarterback. I'm not sure how much progress he's going to make over the course of the offseason. And I suppose if they're comfortable, the 49ers, they could think about trading Jimmy G, but I think he gives them the best chance to win next year as well. And not only that, you can start to mix in Trey Lance more in 2022, the 2022 season, regular season, in terms of getting him more acclimated to that full-time job. Don't forget, he came from an FCS program, didn't play in his final year because of COVID. So I think I'm going to bust on that. No matter who wins this football game, both quarterbacks are going to return to their team.
Ryan has the Green Bay Packers taking the talented wide receiver out of USC, Drake London, in the first round. So maybe that'll be enough to lure Aaron Rodgers back to Green Bay.
Oh, he's staying in Green Bay.
Or he'll go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like Ryan wants him to. All right, now I need both of you to give me a wager that we can all trust in. See what I did there? Ryan, what's your best bet for the divisional round?
So I told producer Lucas that I wanted Deebo Samuel over rushing yards no matter what. They never put it up, so I had to go in another direction. That was going to be a layup. It could have been 80. I'm taking over on Deebo Samuel. Sadly, I didn't get to see that. So I'm going to go under the total of San Francisco, Green Bay. It's 47, and I'm going under for one reason, not because these offenses aren't explosive. The weather is going to be a huge concern in terms of it being sub-zero or near sub-zero temperatures. And historically, teams have gone under that number many more times than not when you look at this graphic here. In fact, I went and looked the last 40 years in games that were 10 degrees or below. The over-under totals came in at 40.8. So I feel pretty comfortable about this. Of course, if you look at the very last game that was in sub-zero temperatures or close to that, that was that Bills beatdown of the Patriots in which 64 points were scored. I'm not going to include that one, but I'm going under this total if the temperatures are going to be around the 4 or 5 degree mark.
Ryan's lust is going to lead to Hakeem's disgust when Aaron Rodgers lands at the back
Yes!
of the Steelers.
Yes!
Yeah! That's the Wordle action, man. That's got my brain
Wordle.
cooking on these.
How many
Wordle,
shout-outs have we had in this segment? I feel like we've had a shout-out for Slack. We've had a shout-out for, goodness gracious. This is great. Let's keep it going. Ryan, Ryan, this is Ryan, Will, I love this. I love the dynamic. Will, go ahead. Give me your best bet.
Shout out to Danny Cannell and Pete Briscoe, too. I'm tagging you every time I tweet out my Wordle scores, just so you guys have to see them. And like you'll get all the replies. I can't wait for it. I'm going to go with the Rams on the money line. I think the Rams are going to win this game outright. I mentioned all the reasons before with, just sort of the matchups and I really believe that the Buccaneers and the Packers got the worst possible draw for these divisional round matchups. If they would have been much like the Packers would have preferred to get either the Cardinals or the Rams in Green Bay, and I think that the Buccaneers would have preferred to get the Cowboys in there. They're just better matchups for them individually. And with all the attrition to Tom Brady's team, I'm going to fade. I'm going to fade the GOAT here and ride with Matthew Stafford, just 3 wins away from locking up that Hall of Fame career.
Trust or bust, a must with Ryan and Will on CBS Sports HQ. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, and for much more, check out the Pick Six Podcast. For all things NFL, joined by super friend John Breach, delivering your daily fix of NFL news and analysis to get you up to speed so you're always in the know. The Pick Six Podcast, download and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.